Hey guys, Tim Seaman here with Southern Traveler, and today I'm in Fort Macon in Atlantic Beach, North Carolina. So we're just getting to the entrance here, and over here in front of me is a 30-pound parrot rifle made by Robert Parrott. 30-pound solid, well, not really solid, but 30-pound shot that would fire projectile. I believe it was rifled. We'll take a look at it and see. Yep, there's a rifle in there in the barrel, which was fairly new during the Civil War, mostly used by the Union forces, not the Confederates. It's a very beautiful fort located right here on the beach. Leading down this way, this is the entrance of the fort. And here you can see that there would be cannon emplacements here around the fort, serve as protective measures for the fort. We'll just walk around. See, each one of these would have been a gun emplacement. As you can see here in the foreground, there's a couple replica guns. Actually, these were built at Wayne Community College in Goldsboro by the name, the guy, his name was Kirk Keller, and he led this project. And actually, they have a fire in here on Wednesdays at 4 o'clock. So this happens every Wednesday. So if you're ever in the area, stop by, check out the gunfiring demonstration at 4. This is a lever for the elevation, so you can change the angle on the barrel for closer or farther distances. And at the back here, it was on a rail system, so it allowed you to kind of swing it around from side to side on both sides, half rail. And you could change the angle or the elevation of your trajectory. As you can see there's the ocean behind us. This fort was actually occupied until, I believe, after World War II. So they used those coastal defenses. They had some guns set up over here in the background that I'll show you later. But so they actually used it all the way through the Spanish-American War, through World War II, and then I think at that point after World War II, going to Korea, the fort was abandoned by the federal government and became a tourist attraction and museum. So a little bit of history there on the fort. Still a well-preserved fort, though. I've been to a few forts, and I've never been to a fort that was preserved, and it's just in great shape. I don't know what else to say about it. So we'll go down below here and check out the interior of the fort next, and take a look at that. So this is a carronade. This is actually the original barrel of the carronade. These were very rare. These were rarely used in the Civil War, and the angle of which they fired them was more like a mortar, but not quite as steep. So they didn't really see much use. They were, like I said, this one was here. I believe this one was cast in like around 1820. So it's very old piece of equipment here, and you can see from the interior it's pretty good sized, probably a round ball that it would fire out of the cannon, the carronade. Sorry. This gun here was a model 1841 Navy 32 pounder. Actually, it was capable of firing a projectile over a mile. It weighs 4,700 pounds, and it took a crew of 5 men to man this gun. So, which most cannons during the Civil War took a crew of 5 to 6 guys to man them, just due to the process of loading and firing. So, pretty standard there for this type of equipment. Pretty good sized gun though. It's 32 pound shell, over a mile. Pretty impressive from 1862 or 1861 when the Civil War started. But actually this was actually made in 1841.
Come on, girls.
And here we have some 1861 10-inch siege mortars. This is the interior of the fort. Now, actually, if you look up here on near the top of the wall, you'll see a cannonball stuck in the wall still from back in 1862, whenever it came under attack. So it's right here above the window. See the ball stuck there, it's unexploded. So this is a replica of a hot shot furnace, and basically the premise behind this would be to heat the cannonballs up to 1,077 degrees roughly. Get them red hot, non-explosive of course, so it'd be solid shot. And then they would fire these into the wooden ships, hoping to catch them on fire and sink them eventually. So yeah, pretty neat concept. Pretty simple design here, looks interesting. Always catches my eye when I come here to Fort Macon. Here we have a stack of cannonballs. So this fort was occupied during World War II, and here is an example of what it would have looked like during World War II whenever it was occupied at the time. They have a mock-up here of basically their sleeping quarters with an old potbelly stove there, and some of the uniforms here hanging up. These look original. Soldier here's got his firing log of his M19 155 millimeter gun. Some guns they have on display: M1 carbine, M1 Garand, 1918 in a bar. One of the fireplaces. Go in here and see what is in this room. So here's the uniforms from World War II all the way back to the Civil War. For both Union and Confederate uniforms. Even with a prison uniform. They had a P on the back for prisoner.
Room in any fort was the gunpowder magazine. This is the room where the gunpowder used for cannons and ammunition is stored. Fort Macon has 3 powder magazines located in the angles behind each of its 3 stairways. The stairways help to shield them from enemy gunfire. The walls here are 5 or more feet thick for added protection. The gunpowder was kept in wooden barrels, usually stacked 3 tiers high, with each barrel containing 100 pounds of gunpowder. The barrels were numbered and marked with the place and year the powder was manufactured and the type of powder it was, which in this case is cannon powder. Gunpowder would be taken from the barrels as needed to fill cartridge bags and ammunition for battle. It was very important to keep the powder well ventilated and dry to maintain its effectiveness. Magazines were regularly aired out, and boxes of chlorinated lime were used to absorb moisture. Great care had to be taken by soldiers working in the magazine to prevent any chance of accidentally igniting the gunpowder. No firearms were allowed around the magazine, and no metallic object which might cause a spark was allowed to be carried or worn inside.
Child cedar coffin. And some other artifacts here. Brass shoulder scales. Some of the buttons. Even some shoes that we found here at the fort. Some of the glassware. There's a Union Bullseye canteen, knapsack, and some cappies. Over here we have Army laundress. So she would have been in charge, I guess, of cleaning and making sure the clothes were clean. So that's how she cleaned her clothes. So here's a 30-pound parrot rifle shell. That's one of the cannons we saw earlier fire this. It had a brass ring at the back of these. The brass ring, the whole sole purpose of that was due to the rifling. So the brass was soft, and as the projectile traveled down the barrel, it would spin the spinning would make it more accurate versus a smooth bore. A lot of times the brass would separate and come off mid-air and would never make it to the destination, but served its purpose nonetheless, and that was to rotate the round as it come out the end of the barrel. That was for accuracy and stability. Much the same way all of our rifles are rifled today. There's some fragments of 8 and 10 inch mortar shells there, so you can see the chunks of metal and basically what they would do to you if they were to hit you. Cause pretty much a widespread devastation to hit somebody with one of those. That big chunk of metal would not be fun to be hit with at all. So here's some of the period correct guns from Civil War we have on display. Spencer repeating carbine. That was really innovative for the period of the Civil War, was to have a repeating carbine. It's mainly used by the Unions, not the Confederates. I believe the Confederates had a few, but they weren't in widespread use either on either side really. But it was a new modern technology for the time. Here's an example of a shell powder charge and the ramrod and how it looked like when it was seated in the barrel of the cannon. Here's an example of some of the rifle ammunition, with the largest being a 30-pound Parrott case shot. Cannonball there was a 15-inch Navy solid shot, weighs 440 pounds, so that's quite a piece of metal sitting there. Here's some of the fuses that were used in the cannonballs. There was a number of fuses used on both sides during the war, and actually some of them changed actually during the war, so there's a lot of different types of fuses that were used in different cannonballs. Here's some artillery equipment that was used. Ramrods, swabs. There's your hot shot ladle, so that was used to handle the really hot cannonballs with. And there's some bullets for a 12-pound spherical case shot, so that would have been inside of the 12-pound cannonball. Iron shot. I actually have found one of these 12-pound case shot, and the fuse goes there on the side. That one is missing from that cannonball. Mine still has a fuse in it actually. A grape shot, which grape shot was interesting. It's kind of like firing a shotgun through a cannon, so we'd fire it and all these balls would actually come out and it'd be just like firing a shotgun. And here's an example of a case shot with the balls inside there. Priming wires, and there's the fuse that was used to ignite the cannon. So this is where all the food was kept. And you can see there's some salt beef back there, which was a staple during the Civil War because it was pretty much preserved. They could have carried in knapsacks.
The Army Subsistence Department purchased subsistence supplies and distributed them to the various field armies and military posts such as Fort Macon. Most of Fort Macon's
this here is a chow hall.
by steamer from New York and
Soldiers will sit here and eat
whether in the field,
breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
or posts such as at Fort Macon, the Army provided enlisted soldiers with a prescribed daily allowance or ration of food.
6-pound field cannon. This here will be the sleeping quarters for the men. There's many of these, each with their own fireplace for the wintertime. Along with the ports here we could fire out from. So these were wedged, so you could fire out from either angle. Here's some smaller ones here. These were all connected rooms, so the men could walk from one room to the next. These holes may have been added after the Civil War, just for stove, for heats, for the heating in here. Probably used potbelly stove, maybe some coal or something would have sat there, and they would have used that to heat the fort. Each one of these rooms has an exit here for looks like a stovepipe, so I think that was a new addition. There's the original fireplace, and each room has a fireplace, as I said. Some type of storage room. It's really dark in here, so you can't really see. Here's a cistern that was made here in 1897. It's basically for the Fort Macon's officers. So they would store water in here until they needed it, and then they would give it out for use.
You went to what they call a circle. It was the beach real wide. They had volleyball nets and stuff. Yeah, that's a good one. Were they strong? Look at these waves and tell me if these are bigger.
These here were the 1917 155 millimeter cannons here. Was placed during World War II. It's a new addition to the fort. And they served as a defensive position here for the Beaufort Inlet. You can see the Beaufort Inlet here in the foreground. there at the beach. These are actually well preserved. Actually, they look like they may be French cannons from the writing on there. On the side here, I believe you can see, yeah, end vault, which is French. I don't know anything about these cannons, but they were placed here and they were used just off the coast in case there was an attack from the Germans. There's a lot of submarines, U-boats that are actually sunk out there off this coast from World War II.